everyone, I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to another session of the Happiness Hour. Our goal here is to help us all connect, inspire, and create. We do this every Wednesday night live here on Zoom with a new topic and a new speaker. The list of upcoming presentations is updated on my website, lindanickell.com, every Tuesday, along with a detailed description for each of those classes and a link to our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe. So if you miss a session, you'll get notified when it is added to the channel. Erin Randall is here tonight to say hello. So say hello, Erin.
Hello, Erin.
Okay. And you guys can find her at admelioracoaching.com. And I probably butchered that, Erin. So tell us the name of your website.
It's admelioracoaching.com. And in Latin, it means to better things. So don't worry, you're not the first one to butcher it. And I know that you will not be the last either.
I butcher it every time I say it.
But at least you're consistent.
Yeah. I'm very consistent about butchering things. So, okay, our guest tonight is Valerie Hoffman, who is joining us from Pennsylvania. Valerie is a nature, macro, landscape photography instructor that hosts workshops in her area. And as soon as we come out from under COVID, I hope that you'll be able to join her on some of her destination workshops. This is Valerie's third session with us. So if you missed the other two, you can find them on the YouTube channel. In tonight's presentation, Finding Beauty in the Broken, Valerie will inspire you to look for the abandoned, broken, and rusty subjects that you might otherwise just walk past. The goal is to not only introduce you to a new or different type of subject than you may be used to photographing, but also to help you see more creatively the common things that are present most anywhere you roam. And with her tips, I hope that she inspires you to look for the unique and the common. So Valerie, it is nice to have you back, and I can't wait to see what you have for us. I cheated and I got a little sneak peek, and I know that you have way more images than, and I had to tell you to cut them, but I saw a little sneak peek, and I think you're going to squeeze them in. So if I missed anything, fill in the gaps and tell us a little bit about yourself, and before you jump into your presentation. So with that, I'm going to.
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. It really is a pleasure to be here. I mess around with Linda a lot, but I truly appreciate this opportunity. I've been taking pictures for a very long time. I won't tell you what the first camera was or any of that good stuff, but I just can't remember a time that I wasn't passionate about photography, even from a very young age. And since 2009, I've been teaching. That's when I got downsized for the second time from the corporate world. And I just decided that I wanted to pursue, I was getting older, wanted to pursue my dream as opposed to, just chasing the bigger dollar or whatever. So I've been doing that, been leading workshops, and I've just really just having a great time with it. And the people I've been working with have been fantastic. So it's just a pleasure. So.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. All right. Blow us away.
So I want to start off by saying that I asked to do, I think, rusty things before, and Linda wouldn't let me do it. And so I'm kind of surprised that I got away with it tonight. And she and I, some of you know, traveled to Vegas together before the world blew up in March. And we went to Nelson Ghost Town. And I just was like on fire. I just loved it. And she was like rolling her eyes, and she worked hard at it. But, it's kind of funny because talking about this beauty in the broken. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And you may look at some of these images and say, well, I don't see anything beautiful there. But what I hope to accomplish is just to really have you kind of look closer and look closer. And, I know that we all have different things that we gravitate towards. A bird could, a big pterodactyl could come and jump down in front of me and stand there and do the chicken dance, and I would roll my eyes and move on. I just, birds, no offense, Rusty, and it just doesn't do anything for me. But if you get me near, even when I see a picture of a waterfall or some old truck, on the side of the road or something, I just really light up inside. And so we have a little group that we call the Rust Buckets, and every chance we can, we've been running around, kind of taking pictures and Rusty stuff. So, is there anybody else you put in the chat? Is anybody else that's really into the Rusty kind of stuff? I assume that, one person said she was. So hopefully.
I know Trish was super excited about your presentation, and I believe Mark came back. So that's what he came in for. And I know that Marilyn and Keith, that's kind of where we met them, in Vegas. So they really like that area. So
yeah,
I think you'll have an audience here.
It's okay. So if anybody is wondering though, like what's up with Rusty stuff, and I'm going to start sharing my screen now and make sure that this is me with Rusty stuff, what makes you want to get out and do it? Well, the idea besides getting out and getting dirty and maybe risking a tetanus shot or running with someone who would rather you not be exploring wherever you are, I think one of the things that when you do get out is you want to just kind of go out with an open mind and a creative eye. And what you're looking at here is the place where I led a workshop last week, 2 weeks ago. I've already lost track. Place in New Jersey. And when you first walk in, there's just so much stuff. It's an abandoned airplane graveyard, but you can see buses and everything else. And it's overwhelming. You don't know what to do. And so the idea is you just want to take a good look and start waiting till your eyes land on something that really starts attracting you. And here's one thing that I want to ask right up front. You can put in the chat. So you want to be searching for the things that create compelling images. So what is it that makes up a compelling image? What do you guys think? What are some specific kind of factors?
Here we go.
Okay.
Colors, contrast, patterns. We're seeing texture, impact and color again. Unusual subjects. Okay, that might be it.
All right, well, you guys are awesome because that's exactly my notes here. So when you get to some place like this, you want to ask yourself, what do you see? All right. And in one of the places I saw this rusty old, I don't know, truck, bus, whatever, it kind of caught my eye, but I'm looking, what do I do with it? So I kind of, walk around to the other side because, one of the things that people tend to do is you see something, you just plop down your tripod or whatever, and you just start shooting. But you really want to look, learn to really look and let your subject speak to you. What is the character that's there? And I'm kind of looking at this thing and I like the broken glass, the front of it looks like flip-flops to me or a butterfly. I don't know what's going on there. But then I look at the windshield and I'm like, what is there? And what's up with that? It looks like there's a flower there. I also like the sort of leafy, reflections here in the glass. But I found that I was really drawn to this front part of this truck, bus, whatever it is. And so that's where I landed for an image. And right off the bat, let me say that whenever I do kind of rusty things, I usually bracket and I usually will merge them together in Photomatics because I like the sort of artsy, gritty look, that you can do with that. So when you see them, they look kind of painterly or whatever. That's what I've done with them. And I should also say, I don't have a clue how to use Photoshop. So everything is either Lightroom or Photomatics in this case. So when you look at this image, what do you see? For me, I see color. That's the first thing that attracts me. So I see blue and I see green and I see more green and red, all kinds of different things here. And that starts exciting me because the first thing that I love is bold color. All right. So, and what do you see here? Besides a whole bunch of old cars, it's a very interesting, setup, but I see color. And then I start seeing some shapes and other designs. And this was one of the coolest places. I won't say where it is at the moment because I haven't gotten permission to take people back yet, but this massive junkyard that has a wall around it with cars. And so I'm looking at this, like, what do you do with it though? It's really cool to the eye, but how do I make a neat picture? And so I start focusing on what really draws my attention. And, this whole pile of cars and this one kind of leaning down and smashed, really caught my eye. And so I wanted to focus in on that. And then, beyond all else, you have this just pile of bold color and kind of a really fun element here. And what do you see here? So definitely, like whoever said that, or a couple of people that said it, bold color is one of the things. And that's the first bunch of images here that, that's just really what I see. I see, almost the whole monochrome here with the green and the greenish yellow. And then I also liked that we have, this old rusty, big tractor or whatever it is. And then we have, some berries and a newer plant growing up all around it. So that just is what kind of drew my eye.
Before you go too far, you mentioned Photomatics. Can you just tell us what that is?
Yeah, that's a software program that is specifically designed for creating HDR images. And so you take your bracketed images, or you could take a single one. So even if you have some shots like this that maybe you only did a single exposure and not three, you can take that into the program. And then there are a whole bunch of different presets, from pretty normal looking to really artsy to really crazy grungy, as HDR, used to be the big thing. And in the newer versions, it's also very good for real estate and architectural photography. So I use that when I do real estate to merge those images as well. And thank you for asking that, because I'm working with them because I love that software. I've been using it since 2014 or 13, that they've partnered with me to give a discount for anybody that doesn't have the software and would like to get it. So I can put that on afterwards for everybody. So cool. We good?
Yes.
All right. So, and moving along here, so this is a side of a train, an old abandoned train, and just the color just really drew my eye. And I love peeling paint, but this was so vibrant, and even kind of the blues in the windows and everything, that I just absolutely loved it. So you've got color, you got shapes, you got textures, but for me, it was really all about the color there. I mean, just look at this. It could be a crazy painting or whatever, but this is just the side of a train, all the patterns. So, and when you find something, really explore it. I don't think that this first shot is the best shot that could be made. That was just maybe my starting point. And then I found more, and I found different textures, different shapes. So just keep moving in, moving around, try different angles. Looking at this, one of the things that and a lot of times participants roll their eyes at this, but one of the things I try and say in workshops is not to leave your subject or where you're at until you come up with 10 different compositions. And that really challenges you to look beyond what, your first preconceived notions might be. So this, I love the bold color. Linda had asked me, about maybe doing something on color, and you'll see a lot of that in here, because one of the cool things with color theory is working with complementary colors, and then colors that are kind of similar. So I just love the green against the red here. And then obviously something alive growing on something that's old and abandoned. For here, again, just colors, shapes, and the blue against the yellow, kind of complementary, so they kind of pop a little bit more. And then just this, now I always mix up my triadic and whatever colors, but just kind of similar colors that are side by side on the color wheel have this very nice, tones and feel to them. I like kind of that lock hanging there. Then one of these old trucks in this yard that we were photographing in just had this crazy front grille. And just, I don't know whether that means maybe a guy knows that this was painted that many different colors in its lifetime, but this thing was just awesome. And so I just had to, you know, spend some time photographing it. So get it from the side, get it from the front, just, and again, it doesn't really matter to me what the truck was, but I'm photographing, you know, Brian Peterson says photograph the adjective, you know, and for me, it's like just the wow color, the bold colors in there. So for me, I was just really drawn to the bright green. This is in an old silk mill. I believe it's the oldest still working silk mill in the country, and we have it here in Pennsylvania. So I just kind of zoomed in on that. And here was a rusty truck that I had passed dozens of times on the side of the road. And just on this day, I decided to stop. And I just loved not just the rusty truck, but the green versus the rust color, so the orangish. And I must have spent an hour there while the farmer went back and forth on his tractor, just looking at me like, what the heck? But it was just so cool, you know, move around to the side and you see, you know, all these textures. And again, the colors against each other. Just kind of really draws my eye. Same with this one with, you know, the purples and the blue, a little bit of hay kind of flying on there, old grass. I call this truck Euclid. I guess that's a company, I don't know, but you know, I just love the look and just all the green tones in here. It's mostly green. And if you notice that most of the images, I have not included the sky because that can be distracting. So it's just, you know, right here in your face, all about these colors and the truck and the vine and the textures. So here's a place in Philadelphia, and it's called the Graffiti Underground or Graffiti Pier. And it's just all about the color. Even the leaves and everything are kind of spray painted. Here's a bridge that's been decommissioned because you can see that it's cracking, but it's just filled. And I don't read too closely because I didn't censor this. I did notice something that I removed an hour ago, but just the color. It sits in a beautiful area. It actually crosses a lake not that far from my home, and it just is really eye-catching to me. And then I used a wide angle and got kind of low and pointed so that you kind of have these converging lines. But it's just, you could spend, and we have spent hours there just photographing all the different, you know, kind of shapes and textures that are there. Another side of a rusty train. And again, the color just really drew my eye, just the whole variety there. And then I also like the kind of shadow under the, I don't know whether it's a handle or the arm or whatever. Same thing with this, you know, I don't know if somebody said about having a story to tell, but you just wonder, this was a Mack truck. I think it worked hard all its life. And now it's just kind of sitting here in this heap, all these different shades of red. We have Mack right in our area, you know, they're built in Allentown. And so there's a lot of Mack opportunities. And it just really drew my eye. We played with this for a long time, different compositions. Here's another Mack truck. And this one I just think this one has so much character. And we recently did an event, a Mack Days event at this place. And one of the challenges was to see how many different dogs you could come up with. And this truck alone has 1, 2, 3, 4. But I had seen a picture of this online and I'm like, man, I have to go back and find where this truck is and photograph it. But just look at all the complementary colors, the textures, you know, everything going on there. It's just so beautiful to me. I hope somebody else thinks it's pretty too. Autocar, again, I'm not really sure what that is and whether that's a manufacturer, but I just love the side of this truck and all the different colors. Again, I don't know whether it was painted a million different times or what, but so yeah, this guy, just with all the different colors and the shapes and the textures, I just thought that was, you know, just really, you know, kind of beautiful too. And just spend some time photographing different pieces and parts. This is, you know, just the side of a machine. And again, just the rust and the textures. You know, you could play with these patterns for hours and just really get, you know, if you have your creative juices flowing. You know, sometimes I might walk up to these things and not really feel anything, but other times I could focus in on every little nut and bolt and color.
So this is a good Let me ask you a question. Gil wants to know, what type of lens are you using on most of these pictures?
Good question. You know, it's a variety. These are taken over several years. A lot will be with, I'm sort of migrating to Olympus mirrorless, and I have the 12-100, and that's a perfect lens. Any that looks super wide, which some of the Mack trucks were, and maybe some more that you see, would have been taken with a Tokina 11-16 on a Canon 7D, so a crop sensor camera with that. So I'm either usually wide angle or just the little mid-range telephoto, like a 24-105 or like the 12-100 now with the Olympus.
Sean wants to know, are many of these cropped or as shot? He says that he ends up cropping a lot, so he's just curious what you did here.
For the most part, there might be a little cropping and maybe a little bit of straightening, but I try, and a lot of them really are, I've moved in and just photographed this portion of it. 90, I would say you seeing at least 90% of what I shot. You know, it's pretty rare that I might, you know, I try and stare at the things for a while and explore them. So yeah, I'm pretty much shooting them this way. And I don't know, in asking about a lens, I would also want to point out that I always have a circular polarizer on my lenses, like all of them. And I would say that 99.9 of these images, I don't know if I could find one that doesn't have a polarizer having been used, so that you're cutting through the reflections from the skies and whatever else, and just getting that nice, deep, saturated color. So, good questions. So, you know, the yellow caught my eye, but then, you know, the picture to me was the yellow with the green, whatever weeds, I mean, growing in front looked kind of cool. And make sure that, no idea. Whenever you do, you know, maybe try horizontals and verticals when you have a nice scene, you know, and I thought that this was the way I liked it, but I think I like the vertical now better. So you never know, and try both ways. And again, you could crop later, but then you're throwing away a lot of pixels. So just do it while you're shooting. So one of the trucks just had this crazy moss, fungus, whatever on these tires. And just that texture really kind of caught my eye. And so I tried to focus in on that. And so just probably a couple more with the colors, but just the bright red. So to me, that's what it was about. I also like the little pink, little weed kind of growing down below. So it was all about just that color. And again, the texture too. And this one for sure just screamed color and texture. So whatever really is catching my eye, I try and just really focus in on that part. And I just love the orange and the pink and the green. Same here. And then the red versus the green. And then, you know, you had this kind of neat green with the textures. I'm not sure exactly what that was, but with all the bolts, and then this just little piece of a flower that had blown over on there, or maybe ended up there by someone's hand. I'm not sure. But just the opposite colors too, that you have all this green and then just that pink to kind of draw your eye. And you really want to be careful on a scene like this. I chose a mid, I actually did the scene at a variety of apertures. So from wide open down to maybe f11 or 16. And some of the first ones, all of them, I focused on the pink flower. And I kind of like this where it got gradually softer, but not completely soft that you couldn't see what was going on. So you want to be careful with what you, especially when your image has depth, you know, what aperture you use as well, because that'll help tell your story. So again, some bold color here, the red, little bit of blue back there, lots of rust. And this one was from Nelson Ghost Town. It was this big old bus, and I don't know, I think Linda saw it first and was liking it. And I didn't know what to do with it, and the light was harsh. But then when I walked to the other side and just really saw, just started seeing just the yellow and blue, that it was just about the color and not the whole bus. That kind of caught my eye. And then just don't go again with just the first shot. You know, what else can you do? Maybe get a little closer, fill the frame a little bit more. I think a lot of times we don't get close enough to our subjects or fill the frame enough for it to have impact. A lot of old vehicles have the broken glass. And one of the things that when you put them in something like Photomatics, it tends to bring out the colors and tones in there. So I really liked how the blue in the windshield came out, and then, you know, contrasting with the rest of the colors of the vehicle. And this guy, just all the colors. So when I see something like that, that's just, you know, I just love it. And it's just pretty cool too to have, you know, at this ghost town, all these beautiful old cars and colors at the base of these gorgeous mountains. It was just such a contrast.
Valerie, are most of these photos handheld, or are you using a tripod?
That's a good question too. Both. They're both. So we, you know, everything from the ghost town, you could use tripods. There was no issue. So when I can use it, I do. But a lot of the Mack truck things that you just saw were all handheld. So it just kind of depends. And when we were at that airplane graveyard, so some of the pictures from there, the vehicles and things were smashed so tight together that you could barely get your body in there without getting cut up. So you'd never get a tripod. So when I can, I do use it. And you could tell there's such good depth of field here that I was at F16 to get that all in. Ones with shallower depth of field, you know, they could have been ones that were definitely handheld and just couldn't go lower. But if I can, I do, if that answers the question. And it's a little easier for bracketing, that'll make sure that all your images line up. So if I am going to handhold, then I have it on high-speed advance so that 3 pictures get taken right away, and Photomatics can line them up without any problem. Question. So in here, you know, there was just a lot of yellow in the scene. I like that. It was bright, even yellow on the wheel. You know, that kind of caught my eye. And this particular one is with a wide angle lens. Like, you could tell that it has a little bit of distortion. I love to use, you know, to get at the widest part of a lens and then get really close, and then, you know, further add to the whatever mystery, whatever, you know, by distorting it a little bit. And then you look close and see I got kind of a yellow leaf on the yellow paint. Just play with that. Try and make a picture out of it.
Leaf?
What's that?
Did you place that leaf there?
I actually did not. That one, I believe, fell when I came across that. But I definitely have been known to place a leaf. I've also been known to just carry one around when I finally find a nice one, because this one's all beat up. And I'm like, what can I put this on? So, so I think I did so much Rust the one weekend. I'm pretty sure this was from that airplane graveyard, and just so much color right here with the orange and then the green and the yellow. All about the just old orange vehicle here. And again, it just really caught my eye how that was contrasting with, you know, all the green foliage all around. I think this was the back of a truck, but just all the blue, you know, and then with a little bit of the rust to contrast with it. And again, I kind of flip into that, but you're also, it's not just about colors here, but what else do you guys see?
I see lines.
You got lines? Yep.
You got patterns.
Yep.
Let's see what else. They're slow typers tonight.
I didn't put everybody to sleep already, did I?
You might have, I don't know. Okay, so we got texture, we got,
yep.
Someone sees a face.
There you go. Is that one of my people?
No, it's my people.
Oh.
Yeah, shapes.
Yep. So yeah, you've got it all in here. So you want to look for that in your abandoned stuff. So you've got the color, then you've got the lines, you've got the shapes, you've got the textures, and kudos to that person that saw a face. Because in here, now, were you seeing a face calling these the eyes? Now I see an elephant, like with a long nose here. but you could also maybe get a face out of this little guy up here too. So we're always looking for faces and things. The bold colors at the front, and then the kind of matching colors in this hood ornament, what really drew my eye there. I love the ferns just on the back of this blue truck. So I'm always looking for, nature, trying to reclaim some of the rusty vehicles. And this particular, I think this was a bus. I, came up with a ton of compositions from it because I just love the color and the textures in it. So around the little license plate, and then we had kind of the side, and then we could try, this and that looks like kind of a creepy eye, maybe. I don't know. And then backing up a little more. So you can see how just, and I'm not even hardly moving, but inches, you can, create a whole bunch of different images if you just really are just looking for shapes and textures and colors and lines. And so this is a piece of a plane. I have no idea what it was, but it really had all these iridescent colors, just kind of shining there, and then laying down on the brown leaves just really caught my eye, and then the green moss. So, I mean, it's never going to win a contest. It's not really a wall hanger, as Mike Moats would say, but, it's just something that, caught my eye, and I tried to work with it a little bit. And if I had had a macro lens, and I really could have got in there and played even more. So this truck, I don't know what it is, but I love this thing. I love the colors. I love the kind of square boxy feel to it. I don't have any idea what's going on with those windows and what's covered, but this guy really had character to me. Back to this bright yellow truck. And, this was kind of in the woods, so you could see that there were pieces of trees kind of poking out in the bottom and all around. So just, zooming in really close to try and eliminate some of those other distractions and keep it right here, all about kind of line shapes, colors, etc. And now somebody else mentioned it in the beginning, but it's also about, light. That light helps create compelling images and the play of light and the shadows. So, first I was drawn to a flower against this rust, and then the green against the red. But then I really worked around, and it was cloudy and sunny. It was going in and out, and waiting till the sun came out and cast that shadow. And that was out of maybe 20 different things that I tried right here, my favorite image, just with that whole shadow coming down on it, that kind of adds to it. So now, again, the shadows here really help make it, but again, you have shapes, maybe almost a face. Oh, it looks soft. This one is in Eastern State Penitentiary, which is a prison here in Philadelphia. It's a historic prison, I believe from the 1700s. And just at one point we were allowed behind the scenes, and just the window light coming in and the shadow and all the cool tones in here. I just really loved that. Another one at Eastern State Penitentiary, and just late evening or afternoon sun coming in there and lighting up with warmer tones up top. There were some pretty good clouds that day. So just kind of like the way this turned out with the colors. Also from ESP, just the light and the shadows here. So how you have light coming in, those are all cell blocks on each side. So some lights coming in from those. And I was on tungsten to balance out the tungsten lights that were inside, which then made the daylight at the end even bluer, and the other patches of light in there blue. So you could play around with white balance as well.
Before you leave the prison, Marilyn wants to know, is that open to the public or for tours? I know you do photo tours there, so.
Yeah, it is. It actually just closed today again, or yesterday. All the museums now have closed in the Philadelphia area. So I just saw the email today. But normally it's open 365 days a year. Oh, Yeah, I think it is now. But it can be very cold and very hot. But normally you can take a tour and it's, I think, $14 to get in, and they have headsets and, will teach you the whole history. Um, this was an amazing building, real quick, back in its time, that this actually had hot water and indoor plumbing before the White House. So it's also supposed to be one of the most haunted places in the country. So if you haven't heard of it, you want to look it up, Eastern State Penitentiary. And I promise you that once it's open and you're allowed to use tripods again, because it really is pretty dark in there. So they took away the tripods through the whole COVID thing now, but I'll be going back. So you can keep an eye on that. Just the way the light was kind of hitting the side of this truck really caught my eye, or car, wagon, and just the colors, textures, just so much going on. I love, just also to focus in on the names, the emblems, the hood ornaments. I just liked, and I think it was Marilyn that said, you got to go to Old Car City. And I love that. Like, that's so far on my list. But I love that, just this is being consumed by nature, but the light and the shadows coming down on it here. And then this was one of my favorite cars. I lived out near this car, and just on a really misty morning. So you've got the soft, beautiful light, and then this, rusty old vehicle in there. So when you find something you like, shoot in all seasons. I probably could make 20 calendars out of this truck. So now, what do you see in this image besides the light, which is also beautiful in here? This screams, one theme. Anyone?
Seeing repeating patterns.
Definitely repeating patterns and lines. This has so many, lines going here, and lines going there and here, and across with the shadows. All around there. So when you have something that's so cool like this, just really make it all about those elements. So the lines and the patterns, absolutely. This one also this one looks a little soft, but back in ESP, all about the lines and the textures there. Several of the cell blocks are 2 stories, which is pretty neat. Some of them you can go up. And this one, lines and patterns. So this is an abandoned warehouse. I believe this was the silk mill, and just the roof had been leaking. You got the reflections. Just make it all about that. This is an abandoned, now I'm forgetting, but a temple. And it was just, it was so dark in there. It doesn't look it, I know from the pictures, but we had a rainy day, and, just here you had the old mixed with, just the beautiful railing and the lines, leading you up through the scene. I tried to compose it that way, so they were kind of leading you through the scene, and just the beautiful shapes on the railing.
So Christy's going to help you out.
Thank you, Christy. I knew one of you guys would do it.
She says Iram Temple. I may not be pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, you are. In Wilkes-Barre. Yeah. So I was on, and she had gone on a different one, Abandoned America. He had exclusive access to get in. And if anybody wants to know, I don't break into anything because I already can't go like to a mall without getting in trouble. So yeah, I'd be the first one to cut my leg off. So back to the lines and shapes and textures here. So, so just stepping back a little bit more from this, and then you get some more lines, just kind of leading you through, and just the beautiful color. And again, this is absolutely on a tripod because these are easily 30-second exposures because it was so dark in there. And then, like I said about the hood ornaments, but I also like, so on top of the color, you have the really neat, soft, curvy lines, and then the contrasting, hardness from the hood ornament, which I'm not quite sure what it is. And then this is back to that graffiti pier. So this, like you guys are saying, is all about the patterns, and then the kind of lines, and try to compose it in a way where, and this is with a telephoto lens, so that there's probably at least I think 6 feet in between each of the sections of this pier, but the telephoto lens really compresses them so they feel like they're right on top of each other. And then just kind of the colors and things. In some places there were parts of trees growing in and out of it. It's just like taking a minute to load. And again, here, just stacking them up. And then even in the midst of a big pile of graffiti, if you look close, you can find some neat shapes, textures. So again, there's a good example of beauty in the broken on this abandoned bridge.
That was a nice little tie-in. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, what do you guys see here?
Layers, lines, repeating patterns.
What about shapes?
Circles.
Mm-hmm.
Shapes.
Circles. So the circles drew my eye here.
I love this one, Angie. I'm with you. A torture machine.
Okay. I don't even know what it is. It's farm equipment. This is like an old John Deere kind of place. But so I was drawn to these circles in particular. So that's what I started playing around with, and just getting in really close, using a wider aperture so everything else kind of falls off soft. Played around a little bit. Oops, with those. I thought I threw some more in there.
Yeah,
But,
someone says it looks like an abandoned carnival. All it needs is some creepy clowns.
yeah, it really does, because that does, that's not a carnival machine. It is something for a farm, but it does look like that in a creepy way. Now here, so let's talk shapes. So that's what I saw here, just this massive, there's circles, there's rectangles, there's triangles, all different kinds of things in there. And then there's different colors and textures. So in one of the abandoned places, this just really caught my eye. And then it had really nice window light coming in from the rear. I have no idea what this piece of machinery is. It's a big round thing that almost looks like a cement thing would, but it has all these circles in it. So that caught my eye. And again, just your repeating patterns, bold color, kind of had it all, including bird poop. Back to ESP. So, you're looking at all these massive cell blocks and the paint and everything. And while I was waiting for some of my group that had gone up the stairs, I'm just kind of leaning on the railing and like, look at this railing, the detail and the circles and the patterns there. I just thought that was beautiful. And I'm assuming this is like a giant shock or something, but just that neon green moss caught my eye, and then just the shapes and the round from whatever that is, giant spring coil, cool front hood ornament. So, a nice V. Back to Eastern State Penitentiary, you've got up in the upper left, you've got some circles, you got a rectangle, you have some neat shadows, you have this door with the neat shape. So, I mean, if you just stand still long enough and look, and that you're looking for something more than the obvious, you can find a ton of really cool stuff. And look at all the different colors, and you have the mix of some tungsten light, playing around with daylight. So I guess this is an old gas pump. Which I thought was, pretty cool too, with the bright orange against the green and being able to see the insides of it. Some more, really cool chip paint. Now you've got some, the shapes going with the circles, and then just even the texture coming out from the circles, the lines. Nice mosaic. This was at that airplane graveyard. And there's an old, I guess it was a gas pump. And so, what I see is color and, rectangle and circles. And again, there's a lot of clutter all around. So you want to just kind of move in close and focus on what it is that really, draws your eye. This is an abandoned but being rehabilitated theater, the Lansdowne Theater. Right outside of Philadelphia. It's a historic 1920s theater. And, if you just look at the detail in there, there's just such beauty. And this is one of the giant columns there at the top.
So there's a question that Karen wants to know. She loves the color, but with all the texture, do you ever change these to black and white?
Some I do, probably not most of the rusty stuff because I'm so drawn to the color. But definitely something like this could be neat as a black and white because it just has those neat patterns. So I don't convert to black and white maybe as much as I should play around with. But that's a good question.
So Mika wants to know, how do you find all of these places?
Good question. I was gonna say Mika wants to know where the bugs are.
Well, we're all in different parts of the United States. So
so several things. So Abandon America, that's workshops, and he goes now all over the world. So you could sign up for his website. I've been on several of his trips, and that would take you to some, pretty cool places. So I am in, use meetup.com, and I'm in a bunch of different local meetup groups. And one of those is very active in photographing abandoned places. And so I just kind of watch where they go. If I can join them, I will. If not, I just get ideas and where I can maybe go myself. So after going on a workshop here, I was able to arrange with the gentleman in charge to be able to take workshops there. But another big thing that you could do, I follow the blog, which is usually horrible pictures, but good information, only in your state. And there's usually a lot of unique museums and things that are listed, at least in the one for Pennsylvania. So that would be somewhere to look. But that's pretty much it, just watching other people's posts on Facebook and Instagram. And as soon as I see something or hear something that I really like, I save it right away in my Google Maps. So there are thousands of places in there so that if I'm in an area, then I can go and explore some of these places that I've heard of. I hope that helps.
yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, so coming through here, shapes. You've got some rectangles, all the colors, the texture. And back to ESP. So here I just saw the two, the patterns with the two doors, and both of them have the two square windows, and both of them have, the broken glass, and it's really thick glass. So it makes a really neat kind of texture in there. So, I just tried to line up the two of those kind of together, and in the middle are more squares, from the back gate. And then, when you see something that you like, try and get closer up to it. Again, this just a little diamond. You don't see a lot of diamonds and things. And then just the complementary colors there caught my eye. Now, this is the side of an old train engine, and just the oil from the side, when the light catches it just right, has these amazing colors. Just like if you see, you look into a puddle of oil or something, and all the iridescent colors. So going there when the sun hits it, it's just, all the colors and the shapes and the textures, I could have played with that for several hours. And it had, there was a lot of it. So something like that was pretty cool. This is I don't know what it is, like a mossy stuff growing on a window. And I actually changed this color from the kind of blah greenish gray to this blue. And it just kind of brought out the texture, and the shapes a little bit more. Shadow texture. You can almost see does anybody see a face in that one? But again, this one was all about just the color and the texture.
John says yes. Or actually, he says yep. Linda's still looking for it.
Kind of. What's that? Linda,
I said,
Linda, it's right in your face.
Linda's still looking for it. Michelle says she sees the scary clown.
Yeah, it's a scary something. He's got something going on with that eye. But so if you look, long enough, you could start seeing that. Now, here was from that one truck I showed earlier where I really liked that patch on the side where it said Mac. And interestingly, it wasn't until right earlier today that I looked down at that, the thing down in the bottom right corner that has all that color. And now I photographed this truck 3 times and never saw that. And I would have just played with that alone, the color down there. But just thought this was cool. How the paint just, when it peels off, just those textures under there. And then on the other side of the truck is the bulldog, kind of in the same thing. And so just some more textures. There was some broken glass, a windshield at this one truck, and it had this bluish tint. It's been obviously enhanced in this image, but I saw the kind of shapes going there and the kind of neat green in the foreground. And then, this was somehow like the back end of a truck, and in the bed of the truck was full of this broken glass and this massive bolt, I guess is what it is. And again, I just like the complementary colors of those. And so I really brought those out a lot in the processing. So that is not exactly the way it looked, but just kind of saturated more. This little hood ornament, the texture. So this is the kind of mossy stuff that I was talking about that I had turned blue on the other one. But there's just, so much character going on there. Colors, textures. I don't know if somebody got me to Old Car City, which I don't know if any of you guys have been. Maybe John said he was, but that's like how many acres? I could be there for days. Back to another section of an auto car. And then if you're drawn to the patterns maybe of the peeling paint as I was here, try and get a little bit of an angle so that it can really accentuate like how much that's peeling off, the depth of it. So I did kind of a side angle there. And then this, so kind of a contrasting thing here. I think one of the things that makes a compelling image is contrasts. And so when I walked out of that graffiti pier, there was this little pylon or whatever it was. And then you could see part of the Philadelphia skyline. And I worked hard to kind of not fall in the water and try and get something lined up to show that contrast there. And just the contrast here. So the next couple will be things that I thought had some contrasting values in it, but all this old, gritty stuff. And then this really beautiful kind of painting on the right side there. I mean, it looks like a wall mural. They autographed it and everything. And I just thought that was interesting how that contrasted with all the rest. This is one of the columns, one of the towers outside of Eastern State Penitentiary. And on this particular day, I think this was in May that we went, there were these beautiful roses blooming. And I thought that was just so ironic that this thing is such an old fortress and scary looking. And then you have these beautiful roses and everything kind of growing at the base of it. So played around with that for a little bit. And those were both with the 11 to 16 millimeter lens, kind of wide angle looking straight up there. Penhurst Asylum is another one of the things that we have here. This is an old asylum that's been closed for a lot of years due to abuse. The movie Suffer the Little Children was made as a documentary about what took place in here. And there are workshops that you can, and tours that you can go on to go there. There used to be 3 buildings that you could tour, and now I think it might only be 1. But, in a lot of cases where these creepy old buildings that are falling apart are covered by, trees and moss and vines. That just always catches my eye. And then in the basement of one of the buildings, another thing, again, this old dilapidated building, and then you have this kind of children's drawing, or not drawing, but painting in there. This is in the courtyard of another prison in Philadelphia that is totally closed. They were letting some workshops in for a number of years. Some movies have been made here, but now it's totally closed. But I never saw, roots growing out of the side of a building like this. So I thought that was really cool. And I think, yeah, here's another image of that. Again, just an old truck being consumed by its surroundings. So again, the contrasts here are what I was focusing on, and the flowers, kind of blooming, or the weeds in the back of this rusty old truck. The contrast of the flowers here and the green ivy against the red. And then even the contrast, so this is inside the Lansdowne Theater, the bigger view, and just the beauty of this place and what it must have looked like in its heyday. But the fact that if you look closely, it's all the peeling paint and it's falling down. And the only light in there are actually construction lights that are going along the side, with the exception of the beautiful light up in the center. So the contrast there. And then this is a different view. Contrast, this just cracked me up. Like, this is just the front of a car and the whole mountain behind it, and I don't know what happened to the rest of it, but there it sits in the ghost town. Contrast being consumed. All right, so let me go to what, and this was an interesting contrast with just the kids' toys with the old buses here. All right, last one. So, or not last slide, just the last couple. Just now, we talked about seeing faces, and when I looked closer at this and saw this creepy face in the hood ornament, wanted to focus in on that. And then whatever this has going on, but it has a face. I like to look for those kind of things too when I'm, messing around with the old cars. And then here, so all the rest of these are hidden faces. So tell me if you see them. So this one's maybe not as obvious, but I see the two eyes here. How about right here in the back of this truck? So I see a face here with a poor green thing growing out his nose. The lights here look like two eyes to me, and then the orange light is the mouth. Another face in a dashboard. Another face, kind of happy face off to the side here. And you guys might think like I drink a lot or do drugs. I don't do either. Just kind of seeing it. Another face here. And once you start seeing them, like they just, kind of all over. This guy looks like he has a Grand Poobah hat on his head to me. This looked like a Cheshire cat to me. So we saw this face in the metal thing on the left, and then the body just looked like maybe that cat. There's the face. I don't know what you guys see in this one. I see an owl. And a face. And if you know you're going to have fun with faces, why not take a hat and stick it on there and make a little creature out of it? I saw a face in here. And there. And there. A weird face. Two faces. And this just in, I guess, an old light face there. And then maybe you find some real live faces amongst your beauty, or real beauty in the broken as well. So I think that guy is my last one.
Okay. Any last minute questions, guys? I think I covered all of the ones that were asked. Why don't you take your screen down, Valerie, and
There you go.
we're gonna give Elaine or Erin, can you unpin her? I think that might be it. Okay, so basically your presentation was a hit. A lot of beautiful images, a lot of very nice compliments. I don't see any more questions. So Valerie, I'm going to wrap it up, and,
Okay.
and thank you for doing this. And we give each other a lot of grief. I'll admit it, that you're kind of a pain sometimes. And if you would just do what I say, we could really, really conquer the world. But
Uh-huh.
I do appreciate you as a friend. And um, I had firsthand experience shooting with you, and not just once, but twice. And I even even agreed to go on a trip with you. So that says a lot about you as a friend. So you guys, do you want to wrap up anything, Valerie? Do you want anything that you want to say before I shut you down?
Um, well, first of all, just everybody, thank you. And thanks for going through that. You never know when you put something together, how long it'll take or what questions will be.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you to Linda. So she doesn't ever want to get credit for anything here, but she has put this together. She conned a handful of us into doing something together in April. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. And I don't know these people, and I don't know anybody in Texas but you. And I'm not sure about Texas people anyway. And we never thought it would come to this. We thought that we would all just be sharing with each other and repeating things. And I think it's fantastic what she's put together here with all the presentations. And, I think you guys would agree, maybe tell her that in the chat or whatever, but, fantastic things, and it's for free, and it's a chance for us to get together. So I, for one, am very appreciative, and, all things aside, appreciative of your friendship as well. And I would love for you guys, if anybody wants to follow me, my Instagram post is in there, and that I'd love. If you follow me on Facebook, there'll be funny stories, because that's just what it is.
Well,
So
thank you, Valerie. And you
yeah.
guys, let me wrap that up. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, another wonderful presentation. So she's done 2 previous sessions with us. So if you've missed those, go to the YouTube channel. You can find her at valeriehoffmanphotography.com, and on Instagram, she's at Valerie Hoffman Photography. And let me tell you, that's the longest name. It doesn't fit on anything when I type it out. So you guys, it's been a ridiculously crazy year, especially for for the photography community, for the guys that are hosting workshops and they're teaching online classes. It's been a tough year, and because and for us that want to go to conferences, we're just kind of stuck at home. But I want to encourage you guys to go to their websites of people that you follow, and one way that you can help them out is look and see is a way to support them. A lot of them sell small items like calendars and books and online tutorials and one-on-one sessions. Help them out if you can. A couple of the people that have done presentations, and Valerie is one of them. John Fisher is another one. They've got calendars out there. I'm trying to remember who else is in this room, but go through the Happiness Hour list of presentations that are on my website and see if there's anybody that you can help out. So most of you know our speaker, Rob Huvis, was scheduled to be here last week. And in order for him to, I didn't want to put him off until next summer. So I've scheduled him for tomorrow. So this week we'll have back-to-back sessions, and I hope that you're able to join us for his presentation in a flash, lightning photography, and dark sky time lapse. And that's with Rob Huvis. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. If you find value to these sessions, please tell your friends what we're doing and invite them to join us. And then, next week we are on holidays, so I will see you the following Wednesday. So please go out, even if it's in your own backyard, and create something beautiful. And then I hope that we'll see you again next time.